All right, so as I said in my last video, I am always on time, always prepared, never late, never early. Here's my November TBR, which is going to start with finishing up, if I can hold these books up, Jesus, Fullmetal Alchemist, the last 6 volumes of the Fullmetal editions, and then I will be done reading the manga finally, after watching Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood 10 years ago, 15 years ago, whatever it was. I loved it then. I'm loving the manga. It's fantastic. Can't speak highly enough of it. If you watched my wrap-up video, I spoke very highly of it then, and everything I said there is still true now. So it's fantastic. I can't wait to continue it. And then at some point, probably after the holidays, because everybody gets busy, stuff's probably going to slow down for most of us. We are going to do some kind of chat about it. We being myself, Jessa Owens, Patrick Leo, and Elliot Brooks. I believe this will be all on her channel. We've done a couple of reading sprints for her patrons where we're usually reading FMA during those. And that's been fun too. But yeah, we're going to do some kind of discussion, probably spoiler free and spoilers. And then I think what I'm going to do for the series, rather, because I haven't been doing volume reviews or anything like that, I'm probably going to do like a why you should read Fullmetal Alchemist. I just got to be careful because it seems like YouTube content creators get copyright striked all the time when they share manga and anime clips. So I'll have to figure out how to do that. But I do want to talk about this in a standalone video because I really want people to read these. I think they're fantastic. Whether you get the Fullmetal editions or not, doesn't matter. Just read it. It's great stuff. Next up, something that I've started, I'm barely into it. Wolves of the Kala, another gigantic Dark Tower book. I love this series, man. It's so much fun. It's so weird. It's so wonderfully weird. Only Stephen King could do something this bananas. And I love the way that he plays with different, I guess, like wheres and wheres and whens is how I'll put it. The plot is still very intriguing because I still don't know what the hell the point of the Dark Tower is yet or why Roland is so obsessed with it. There's a lot going on in, I guess, our world as well as Midworld, and there's just a lot of weird things happening. I never know what to expect from book to book. This one especially, like with the prologue, super interesting and mysterious what was going on with this town that's basically being like raided by what I believe are the Wolves of the Kala. They like take their kids, and it's a whole it almost felt like a horror plot or like horror setup for a movie. It was great though. I loved it. Again, he just has a special brain, a special mind for putting you in the shoes of all these characters that are just desperate human beings, that they have realistic problems that they have to deal with. And even in a fantasy setting where nothing makes sense sometimes, he just makes you feel for the characters. He is a very fantastic writer when it comes to pulling emotion out of you for certain characters, giving you interesting things to think about, really creative ideas of a fantasy book. Like I would have never expected what this series was when I started it, and it just continues to be fascinating. And I love Stephen King's writing style. I am going to miss Frank Muller's narration, unfortunately, after learning what happened to him, because I had no idea. It's sad to see, sad to read about, because I think it was Winds Through the Keyhole I started to do on audio, and I was like, who the hell is this? It was Stephen King. He's not a great audiobook narrator, I'll say that much. Great writer. I don't love his audiobook. But Frank Miller really is just stuck in my brain for giving unique voices and characterizations to these characters. So rest in peace, sir. I don't remember the name of the guy that ends up taking over for the final books, but I doubt it's going to be the same. So I'll probably end up reading most of them, maybe doing a little bit on audio, but I loved his audio narration. So it's sad that we don't have any more of that, but Dark Tower is fantastic. I am going to finish it up in the next couple of months. It's just super weird and I love it. Next up, again, continuing the... Oh God, I have to sneeze. Oh, it's going to do one of those things where it like sits right here and then it doesn't come out. So next up, continuing my Tolkien journey, because I am going to read everything that I can get my hands on by him, because I only ever read The Hobbit and then Fellowship, Two Towers, and Return of the King. I have picked up several more books since then. Like I got the newer edition of Fall of Numenor that came out. I've got the Unfinished Tales, Silmarillion, and Tales from the Perilous Realm. I don't even know what half that shit is, but I'm excited to read it because, damn it, Rings of Power, you sucked. But you did make me want to go read good Tolkien content, so hats off to you, Amazon. Fellowship of the Ring, though, fantastic. I now understand, or re-understand, because, God, I can't remember how old I was when I first read these books. It feels like forever ago. And I remember my parents buying me like the movie tie-in editions at one point with like the stupid, like when a movie comes out and they're like, oh, let's reprint all the books and put the characters on it. So like Frodo's on the front of Fellowship. Those don't do that, book publishers. It's terrible. But Fellowship of the Ring reminded me of how much you miss in the movies, and I love the movies. Don't get me wrong. Wonderful adaptations for the most part. I understand a lot of what they changed and cut makes sense, but also like there's so much you don't get in the movies that you get from the books, like all the tie-ins to Numenor and Morgoth and everything that I'm sure is talked at length about in the Silmarillion and other, pre-Fellowship content. You get even like different things happen, different characters are involved at different times, personalities are different. Like Gimli is pretty much comic relief in the movies. He's not really that in the book. Merry and Pippin are much more comic relief in the movie, and I love all that. They're not that dumb in the books. Frodo's kind of the same. He's mostly the same. Same with Aragorn. Aragorn kicks ass in both. But like Glorfindel being the one that meets them to take them to Rivendell instead of Arwen. You have Radagast and freaking Tom Bombadil. None of that's in the book in the movies. The entire I get it. I don't think the whole Tom Bombadil thing would have played as well on film. He's a drugged out weirdo of a wizard that's always singing and talking about himself in the third person, which don't get me wrong, I love in the book. It's great. I don't think people would have loved it in the movie. So for a general audience, I understand it. But it's just an interesting thing to compare the two. And I immediately went and watched the extended edition of the movie because I wanted to, but also just to see some of the differences. And it's really cool. Like some of what like Galadriel tells Sam in this, it's like, oh, you just foreshadowed that? Wow, cool. I had forgotten about that. It's so wonderfully written. I do wish someone would have restrained Sir Tolkien a little bit when it comes to how many songs he wants to write, though. It's a lot. That would be my main critique of these books is, damn, dude, like, do you need this many songs in your novels? I don't think so. But it's fantastic. I love it. I was even caught off guard because it's been a long time since I've read these. I had forgotten that, and spoiler alert for a 70-year-old book, that the way that the movie ends is like the beginning of the next one, because again, Tolkien didn't want this to be a trilogy, so it made sense for Peter Jackson to give a big flashy ending to the Fellowship movie. So the entire scene with Boromir and like the orcs attack, like none of that's even in this book, and I was like, what? I kept waiting for it. I was like, I got 5 pages left. Where are the orcs? And it doesn't happen because it's in the next book. It's in the beginning of the next book. So it's just stuff like that is really cool to remind myself of and realize how many compromises or cuts or changes have to be made to adapt something to TV or film. So while I love both, there's something special about the books that you just don't get in the movies, and I appreciate it all over again. And I love these books, man. And then, of course, what I am talking with Leanna at the end of the month for, and I think Alan, I don't know who else, The Wolf by Leo Carew. The way that we're doing this, read along, buddy read, whatever you want to call it, is we're doing The Wolf this month, and then I think we're doing The Spider next month, and then The Cuckoo will be January, right? I think so. Because I think the published date for The Cuckoo got pushed, so then we were going to read it earlier, now we're reading it later, whatever. So The Wolf by Leo Carew. Leanna is obsessed with this book. It's definitely one of her favorites. I think she said she's read it 5 times. We'll see. I just started it, so I have read 1 page. There you go. I have no thoughts on this yet, but this is what I'm going to be reading next since I just finished up Fellowship, and I'm looking forward to it because I like a lot of the same books that she does, and she speaks highly of it. And if you read it 5 times, it's got to be somewhat good, right? So looking forward to it. Let me know in the comments down below if you've read this. Don't really know a lot about it. I know that there's a wolf on the cover. There you go. There's my insight. But that's what I'm reading in the month of November. But I'd love to know what you plan on reading, what your end of the year goals are, if there's anything you really have to get to. I didn't include it here. It's over there. Small favor and Turncoat. I'm going to audiobook at some point this month because we're going to talk about it on Joseph Carroll's channel. Again, link down below because we were talking about lots of Dresden on his channel. So I'm going to listen to those here shortly because those will fly by in like 2 days. That's usually what happens when I read or listen to Dresden books. So yeah, that'll be my November. And then whenever Lost Metal gets here, I don't know, everybody's read it already. So I'm going to be late on it, probably next month, but I'll read that next month. Yeah, we'll do that, okay? I'm probably not going to like it as much as everybody else. Oh,